Hey everyone, Meltyman234 here, and welcome to another Forgotten Media Halloween special, where I dig up some stuff beyond the grave. Mwahahaha! As we all know, Halloween is a popular time for ghosts to come out and scare people out of their pants. Well, unless you're a friendly ghost like Casper. I've known about the Spectre for a while, from watching some of his old cartoons on VHS, to his big theatrical debut in the 90s. Nowadays, it feels like Casper is another one of those characters that struggled to stay relevant and has fallen into obscurity. Then again, I've heard he's had a long life in comics. Out of all the different Casper media, the one I'd probably think of the most is the 90s film. I remember watching it on VHS a few times, and I got lucky in finding a local movie theater to watch the film, back when they decided to re-release it in theaters for its 30th anniversary. Aside from some questionable moments between Casper and Kat, I still like it. It's definitely a film that doesn't sugarcoat the themes of death and trying to move on from grief. Plus, in my opinion, I think the look and the effects on the ghosts still hold up. So, to celebrate the film's 30th anniversary, I'll cover an obscure bit of media related to the film, and that is the Spooktacular New Adventures of Casper, that first started airing on Fox Kids in February 1996. Jeez, this series is almost 30 years old. Now, the weird thing about the show is that when watching some commercials in the actual series, it's just called Casper, or maybe Casper the Animated Series. But on home media, that's where the whole Spooktacular New Adventures title came from. I actually used to have one of these VHS tapes that I watched a couple times back then, so it was nice revisiting this and checking out most of the other episodes that I missed out on. So right, it takes place in the 90s Casper universe, that tries to act as a continuation to the film. Kat is still living in Whipstaff Manor with her father, Casper still being their friend, Dr. Harvey is still a therapist for ghosts, and the ghostly trio, Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky, are still up to their mischief. We have episodes that take place in the manor, and sometimes they take place in Casper's school. Yeah, Casper goes to a ghost school in this universe, which really adds a lot of disturbing thoughts. We all know Casper was once a living person before his death, so how did all these other kids die? Well, it doesn't matter, as the series never goes down that route. We do get to see some new characters, like Spooky, the tough guy character who wants to be the scariest ghost. I know he originated from the comics and is actually Casper's cousin, but I don't recall them being referred to as cousins in the show. They just act like rivals for the most part. I think it's fine, and again it's probably just because of the fact that Rob Paulsen voices him. Then there's Pearl, another character from the comics, although for some reason everyone calls her Poyle, which is how Spooky pronounces it with his voice. But right, she's just the dumb blonde character. I've heard her comic origins is much different, so I don't know, your mileage might vary with this version of the character.
I just love your nose. It's just like a little black olive.
Get it, Poyle.
If you say so.
Another reoccurring character is their school teacher, Miss Banshee, teaching them the ways of scaring people. The ghostly trio have a crush on her, and she has quite the set of lungs.
Could we settle, please? Settle?
I hope my hair is...
Thank you.
Man, I can only imagine Tress MacNeille must have taken a lot of lozenges from all those recording sessions. Speaking of which, since this is a cartoon from the 90s, you'll be hearing some familiar voices from Rob Paulsen, Tim Curry, Frank Welker, and yes, Jim Cummings voices several characters too.
Show him the good stuff, and push the slappy squirrel pogs. No one's buying the things.
As for our main cast, it looks like Casper's voice actor from the film decided to come back and voice the Friendly Ghost. Although he definitely sounds a lot older in this series.
I need to figure out a really scary scare so I can win the spooking bee at school.
With our human characters, Bill Pullman and Christina Ricci didn't return as they were busy with other projects at the time. So for Kat, we have Kat Soyce, who sounds like most of Kat Soyce's other voice works.
One small suggestion.
Yeah?
When you practice in front of the mirror, it helps to have a reflection.
Yeah.
And as for Dr. Harvey, I was surprised to find out that they got Dan Castellaneta to voice him. Yeah, back when he used to have variety in voicing characters in other media, instead of just being the Simpsons guy.
You need to unravel the inner you to reveal the true you. Your issues are very transparent.
Now, the ghostly trio is kind of interesting, They were able to get the original voice actors to come back, but you might be surprised to hear that Stinky is the only consistent one. With Stretch, it's still Joe Napodi, but there are some episodes where you'll hear Rob Paulson reading a line here or there.
I am so happy I can hurt you guys.
Hey, what's stopping me?
I find that really strange. The only time I've seen that happen was in the Team Fortress 2 short Expiration Date. And as for Fatso, Brad Garrett came back for half of the show, but in seasons 3 and presumably 4, they got Jess Harnell to do the voice, and funny enough, he would continue to voice the character in some of the direct-to-video Casper films. It's a pretty tall order to find someone to sound as deep as Brad Garrett, but I think Jess does a decent job.
Ah, look at that. The pup wants me to slap it some paw.
What are we doing on bicycles?
Oh, it's an homage to E.T. and that brilliant director Steven Spielberg in a pathetic attempt to get him to do a sequel to our movie.
Yeah, well, it ain't gonna happen.
The way that this series is structured is that each episode has 2 or 3 segments. First segment giving us a story, then the second segment gives us either a musical number or a short comedy skit, and then the ending giving us another story. Sometimes we might get another short skit during the credits, and other times it just shows a graveyard with puns written on the tombstones. In total, the series lasted for 4 seasons, 52 episodes, with 2 or 3 segments per episode. There is a lot of stuff that happens, so I'll try and highlight some noteworthy ones. There's one episode where the ghostly trio gets sick. Yeah, ghost flu is a thing, apparently. And when Kat and Dr. Harvey get infected, they start to believe that they're ghosts. There's an episode where Casper is at Kat's school and announces a ghost party at Whipstaff Manor, all while Amber tries to prove that the party is a hoax. Yeah, so if this is supposed to be a continuation of the film, then why does everyone forget that they already did that in the movie? Another episode involves Casper trying to take a picture of himself by using some weird device that ends up causing him to split into 2 versions, a good side and a bad side. There's a few school-related stuff worth highlighting, like Casper trying to help Poyle to be scary, or trying to be all cool at school. And there are plenty of episodes involving the ghostly trio getting into all kinds of shenanigans, whether it be trying to win Miss Banshee's affections for them, or there's another episode where they try to scare a goldfish, but the fish is too depressed as she misses her mother, and surprisingly the trio do feel sympathy for her, and try to help find her mother. Yeah, even as a kid, I always found the ghostly trio to be entertaining.
It's Babe Ruth, the greatest hitter of all time. The greatest player of all time.
The greatest candy bar of all time.
That is so stupid, it broke my brain.
And then there are episodes that just go full-on meta, like there's one episode where Kat and Casper go to a convention, and the guy running it just so happens to be a big Casper fan of the old cartoons, and wants to add the real Casper to his collection. So apparently the old Casper cartoons also exist in the 90s universe? I mean, sure, we did get a small reference in the movie, but this is really weird. Then again, not as weird as seeing Casper teaming up with a bunch of space cops in their own series. Yeah, that was a thing. There's one episode that is clearly a parody on the X-Files, starting off with characters disappearing, then getting our spoofs of the main characters from the X-Files, only for Casper to leave the world and into some animator's office, where he finds out that the reason why everyone's been disappearing was from a bottle of paint thinner that was knocked over, all while the animator dozed off.
That's my creator? Ew, gross.
Well, it could have been worse, Casper. It could have been a certain mouse causing that thinner disaster. And then there's one episode where the main characters are in a conference about their show tanking because some knockoff show is doing better. So they try all these different ways to try and keep their show going, like bringing in guest stars or doing a Power Rangers spoof. What makes this one stand out is that in the guest star segment, they feature a parody of Robin Williams, who just so happens to be voiced by Dan Castellaneta.
Oh, howdy, folks. Ho, ho. Hey, guess who's coming to dinner? Me! Oh, yes!
Yeah, from taking over Robin's role as the genie in Disney's Aladdin for a while, to voicing a caricature of the guy who originally voiced him. And funny enough, Dan would later voice Stretch in the film Casper's Scare School. I don't have much to say about the in-between segments, but there are 2 noteworthy ones, like The Who That I Am, just an amusing comedy bit that's based off some early drafts of the movie. And then there's Forget About It, one of the many song segments. This one is special because in the movie, there was originally going to be this big musical number with Dr. Harvey and the Ghostly Trio that would have featured that song. Later on, they changed it to a more upbeat tune called Lucky Enough to Be a Ghost, but later on, the entire scene was cut for being too expensive. So it's nice to see the original version of that song be reworked into the cartoon series.
I'm dysfunctional.
You're a big numbskull.
I got issues. I'm neurotic.
He's a manic, depressive, psychotic, hauntaholic.
And that's the basic overview for this cartoon series. The main cast is still fine, the ghostly trio get into a lot of comical slapstick, and I dig their cartoon designs. Although it might be a little bit jarring in seeing how this cartoon is very comical. To be fair, the 90s Casper film did have some funny moments, but this show feels very 90s, with all the pop culture references for the time, the fourth wall breaking antics, and the gross out humor. Then again, it does feature a character called Stinky, so that was a given. There are a lot of moments that feel very similar to Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, or Tiny Toons. And that's because of the fact that some of the people who worked on those shows also worked on this Casper series, which definitely explains the style of the humor. Although I will give them credit in trying to incorporate characters from the Casper comics into the show, which I imagine that's how most people knew about Spooky and Pearl. Now with these kind of forgotten TV shows, I try to watch all the episodes, but I was only able to watch a majority of the first 2 seasons and a couple of episodes from season 3. Yeah, sadly I couldn't find any episodes from season 4, which funny enough happens to be the shortest season. As for home media, there were a handful of VHS tapes that had 2 episodes each. Then there were some DVDs that claimed to have 15 episodes, but they're basing that off of segments, so technically there's only 5 episodes. So yeah, there never was a complete series release on DVD or Blu-ray, and it's not available on streaming services, as far as I know. I've heard one called Plex that might have all the episodes there, but it doesn't seem to be available in America, so I can't really confirm it. This is another one of those shows that has been labeled as partially lost media, since there doesn't seem to be a full archive of the entire series, which I imagine must be very frustrating, especially for a segment-heavy show like this. I have come across some of the missing episodes, but they're all dubbed in different languages, so technically the entire series does exist, but half of the original English audio is missing, and all we have are a bunch of untranslated dubs. Well, hopefully that'll change, because I have seen this happen. When I revisited Little Shop, I complained about how one of the episodes only had an untranslated German dub, but nowadays the original English track has been recovered, so maybe one day the same could be said for this series. I know there's a channel called the Casper Preservation Project that's trying to archive the series, where some of them are in good quality, while others have not so good audio quality. Oh well, still better than nothing. Plus, it was a big help for me when working on this video. In closing, I think the Spooktacular New Adventures of Casper is pretty entertaining. It might come off as just another product of the 90s, or trying too hard to be like the Animaniacs, but I think it has some good ideas. It kind of reminds me of the Beetlejuice cartoon series, where they took the basic elements from the original film and just did their own thing with it. But hey, if you're into Animaniacs or looking for a time capsule of the 90s, then maybe you'll like this take on the Friendly Ghost. Well, that wraps up this episode of Forgotten Media, so this is MeltingMan234 signing out and wishing everyone a happy and safe Halloween!
I'm incurably out of my head and diagnosed. But it don't matter if the man is a head when you're lucky enough
To be a ghost.